podcast, full panel, Ebony and Ivory living together in perfect harmony. Geese and Gamer Sports Wars entire audience support system. First of all, thank you to everyone who was subscribed and who has helped to get our Sports Wars channel over 3,000 subscriptions, which is a high watermark for us and us heading in a very good direction. And we are back with our Sports Wars podcast. As you can see, I'm being joined by the CEO, Jeremy, as well as two new additions to our Sports Wars teams, Uche and Ryan. How's everybody feeling tonight?
Feeling
good.
good.
Feeling
great.
good.
Feeling awesome.
Feeling the diversity here on the panel.
Much to your chagrin, I'm sure.
No, but I'm looking forward to it, man. We got fucking football seasons here. We are getting hyped.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
We are ready to talk some shit and get into it. So I'm happy.
Yes, we can finally move away from that nightmare that took place in June in that other league that we're not going to talk about. Yes, football is here. Obviously, preseason is going to be getting into full swing this week. A lot of people are getting their fantasy league set up. Just a lot to be excited about, man. It's that time of year. It's the most wonderful time of year, all right? Christmas and the holidays are all well and good, but ain't nothing like the start of football. So to go ahead and get right on into the swing of things, I actually threw a little bit of a unique topic at our panel here. When you start looking at the overall dynamic within football, particularly the last few years, obviously the rules and just the nature of the game, it favors the offense. People want to gamble on games. People want to see their fantasy scores go up. More points equal more ratings. It all ties together. With that being said, defense can't go unappreciated, particularly when it's able to stop the things that offensive schemes are doing. And one of the more difficult positions to evaluate with regard to defense is safety. Safeties are arguably more important now than they have been in the last, 5, 10, 20 years? Like, if you have trash safeties, you're going to be in for a long afternoon, especially if any of the damn quarterbacks who wear number 12 are on the other side of the field. So with that being taken into consideration, I want to hear who these fine gentlemen feel are the top 3 safeties heading into the 2019 season. Not necessarily in terms of their entire body of work, but what you guys feel they will do and they will contribute to their teams and their defensive units heading into this year. So we're going to go ahead and start with one of our newer members, Ryan. Let's hear what you got.
All right, sounds good. So for me, number 3 going into this year is going to be Earl Thomas. With a new team, Baltimore Ravens. Last time we saw Earl, he was flipping the bird to the entire Seattle sideline. So, he's getting a little long in the tooth, but he's got a lot to prove. He's with a historically dynamic defense there in Baltimore. So I'm looking forward to that. Number 2, my man for Chicago Bears, Eddie Jackson. We know he's a ball hawk, dynamic playmaker. You don't want to get hit by the dude. He's going to stop you in the middle of the field. So number 2, Eddie Jackson. Number 1, maybe a little early to put him on top, but for me, I've seen this guy play in person out here in Southern California, Derwin James. Derwin James, to me, is going to be the new prototypical guy at safety. Because what do we have right now is we have these tight ends that are providing these huge mismatches in the middle of the field. Derwin James is long. He's super fast. He can cover those guys. He's a playmaker. He's going to go get the ball up in the air. He's also going to make a ton of tackles. Had almost 100 last year.
Right. So
Derwin James, to me, an up-and-coming guy. He's going to shock the world this year if he didn't win. He won Rookie of the Year last year, but he's going to do even more this year.
Okay. Definitely see what you mean there. Derwin James at the top. If someone is going to help Los Angeles get over that San Diego hump, he's going to be one of those guys down the stretch.
Yeah.
Uche, how do you feel about top 3 safeties?
Well, a couple guys that come to mind for me. One of them is Jordan Poyer, along with Earl Thomas. These guys have been playing pretty well. Poyer had 4 interceptions last year at the safety spot, getting picks like that. Usually it's because he's playing well over the top. Earl Thomas, same thing, another one of those elite safeties who can play in coverage on that slot and can play over the top on those outside threats. So, having a good safety is paramount now. Like, if you have a guy who bites on play actions, they can get the ball going right over the top of them. So those are the guys that I think kind of stand out in the group of over the top safeties.
Okay, definitely. Jeremy, I'm very curious to see what direction you, of all people, take this in.
Honestly, it's going to be a little bit similar to Ryan's, but I do have a wild card I'm going to throw in there. Obviously, I am biased. I will put that up front. Biased to the Bama boys. So Eddie Jackson, I'm very excited for him in Chicago. I forgot the fact that you were a big hardcore Chicago fan, so I wasn't expecting you to say that, Ryan. So Eddie Jackson in Chicago, I'm looking forward to this. And Earl Thomas is another one. I mean, with that defensive culture, like, I don't think the Ravens are going to be good this year, but they have a defensive culture. You know what I mean? And
right.
Thomas is a beast. We all know he's a beast, and he comes from a famous defensive culture out there in Seattle. So to see him in Baltimore is going to be very interesting for me, and I'm kind of excited about that. He's a baller, and I think it's going to be interesting because, like I said, with Lamar Jackson, I don't think they're going to produce a lot of points. There's going to be a lot of focus on the offensive side of the ball, so that defense is going to have to be locked down as hell in Baltimore for them to be successful. And that's going to be a really interesting dynamic, and I want to see the leadership the leadership and the history that Earl Thomas has had with being on a historically great defense. What is he going to bring to this historically defensive culture in Baltimore? It's going to be really interesting. The wild card, another Bama boy, is Landon Collins. Now, Landon Collins was fantastic in college. He was a absolute ball hawk. Every time you saw him, he was near the ball. Now, he's been really good in New York since he came into the league. He's been really good. Now he's in Washington. I'll be honest with you, though. I'm not really that familiar with Washington at this point. They have a new coach, correct?
No, it's still Jay Gruden.
Is it still Jay Gruden? Okay, so, I mean, they are so far off of my radar.
They're about to have a new coach.
Yeah, they're so far off of my radar because the NFC East, it's all about Dallas and Philly. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to see Landon Collins because I have a lot of faith in Landon Collins. I think he is a fantastic, dynamic, absolute beast of a football player. And he did do some really good things in New York. I want to see if he's going to take more of the leadership role now that he's, in Washington. So I'm excited about that, there's plenty of guys we could mention, but those are the three that stand out. And unfortunately, as two of them were similar to Ryan's, but I got the Bama bias. So what do you want me to do?
Great minds think alike,
That's true. That is true.
Well, think about this with Earl Thomas. The last great safety they had in Baltimore was Ed Reed. He just got put in the Hall of Fame. And a lot of the identity of that defense that Ed Reed was on was, founded in his style of play. Him and Ray Lewis, their style of play is what that entire defense emulated. Earl Thomas comes from a similar kind of defensive background where, he is going to operate kind of as the heart and soul of that Baltimore defense. So we'd see a resurgence of Baltimore from a defensive standpoint, where they're scoring points and they're keeping themselves in the game while that offense goes through its growing pains.
Yeah,
I like the Ed Reed shout out because Ed Reed, man, one of the greats, one of the greatest to ever do it, man.
Beast.
And just a cool mother effer too, man. He's just cool as hell. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a cool dude. Go ahead, Pat. My bad.
The you. No, that Baltimore defense. Even if they go 8-8, 9-7, whatever the case, that defense is going to be breaking people in half. So, God bless whoever has to go over the middle against them.
Jacksonville's practicing against them right now in training camp, and they play them on Thursday, I think.
Nick Foles. For my personal list, so my number 3 guy, and this is probably going to be a curveball for all you guys to hear. Comeback season is coming for Keanu Neal, the Atlanta Falcons. All right, this guy was, as most people know, was Cam Chancellor's protege at about 6'2", 220 pounds. The guy's a bruiser. He's not quite as multifaceted or versatile as some of the other guys who are going to be on my list. He is more along the lines of a traditional box safety. But to Ryan's point about Derwin James, he has the size to deal with tight ends, and there's no shortage of tight ends catching passes in the league at this point. So that's going to be very crucial for an Atlanta defense that is coming back from just a nightmare season as far as everybody getting hurt. All the key pieces, like it was bad. As far as my number 2 guy, and this is a consistent theme, which I'm glad about because a lot of defensive players are underrated, but Eddie Jackson. This guy, as a third-year prospect out of Alabama, like he reads coverages and he makes plays that would be routine for a 10-year veteran, much less a kid who's like 25 or 26 in his third year in the league. I mean, just superhuman speed to be a true center fielder. Like, if he's in the middle, he's literally taking the seams away. There's nothing that he's not going to get to because he goes from hash mark to hash mark just like that. So, you know, when you got him back there and you got Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks up front just breathing down the quarterback's neck, good luck, Aaron Rodgers. Now, for my number one, this is I'm going to subvert expectations a little bit. My number one is a tie because both of these guys transcend type. Neither is a box safety or a free safety or a slot guy. Both of these dudes excel in every role. If they're lining up on the outside, linebacker, whatever the case. That's Derwin James and Jamal Adams of the New York Jets. Now, obviously, Adams isn't quite as big as Derwin. He's not, you know, a TJ Ward bruiser, but he can still square up and tackle when he needs to. He's always close to the ball, no matter what the formation calls for. And he represents a culture shift because we're always talking about culture for the New York Jets defense and the New York Jets as a whole.
Absolutely.
Like, they have legitimate pieces now. I'm not saying they're going to dethrone anyone, as we're going to get into later, but they're going to be damn competitive, and I can't wait to see this kid put together more highlights because his first 2 years, if you go on YouTube and search Jamal Adams, oh my God, can play.
I got plenty to say.
College man from LSU.
I got plenty to say about New York, but I'll wait until we get into our AFC East predictions. But no, I do. I think they're going to have a decent year this year. So,
absolutely. So yeah, that's going to be the start for our show in terms of our assessment of that particular position on defense. I know it's real easy as casual fans, spectators, or someone who's betting to just be caught up all into how many points are being scored, but defense still matters. Ask the Rams how much the opposing defense's team matters.
Yep.
With that being said, speaking of that trash Super Bowl, the AFC East along with the AFC West. So last week we did our predictions for the NFC counterpart. Now we're moving things over to the AFC. Obviously, in the AFC East, you have the current defending Super Bowl champions in New England, and then you have the rest. You have the Miami Dolphins, who are being now coached by former New England de facto defensive coordinator Brian Flores. You have the New York Jets, who are now being led by former Miami Dolphins coach Adam Gase. And you have the Buffalo Bills, who actually low-key have a lot of talent on defense, but the thing is, can they throw the ball into the end zone? I'm just going to go ahead and give Jeremy the floor so we can have his whole soapbox, and then you other two fine gentlemen can speak.
Well, let's talk about the New England Patriots, the defending Super Bowl champions, with a 42-year-old quarterback.
You like those guys?
I do like those guys.
I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Please continue.
42-year-old quarterback, just in the prime of his career, throwing the ball better now than he did when he was 30. The man is unstoppable. He is a Terminator. He is the GOAT. But outside of the obvious with Tom Brady returning, we have lost Gronk, which on the surface does seem like a big problem. But, I mean, we won the Super Bowl a few years ago without Gronk. I mean, Gronk's a big loss, but he's obviously been really inconsistent with, his availability because he's so injury prone. But there's a lot of young players now. This is one of the younger teams that New England has had in a long time. I mean, outside of the fact that Brady's 42. And yes, with Brady being 42, it is a problem. I'm not going to sit here and just be completely just fanboying about it. I mean, he could take a step back this year. I mean, there's a lot of reports that he started to take a step back last year. I don't necessarily believe that. There was just a lot of issues with the receiving core last year. I personally didn't see a lot of him, regressing last year. I didn't. I mean, if you go back to the playoffs, I mean, yeah, maybe a little bit, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough to make a big deal.
Correct.
Yeah. So
there was no regression. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, but I do leave that option open. It could happen this year, and if it does, the media is going to like, oh, we knew it was going to happen. It's like it's going to happen at some point. It's going to happen, Rob Parker. It's going to happen, Max. It's going to happen.
Oh, please don't. Jeremy, we don't speak that cornball's name in this dojo. Not while I'm in charge. I'm sorry.
No way, no how. All right, but anyway. Obviously, this is the Patriots division. To lose, they're going to be there. So let's focus on the New York Jets. I think the New York Jets have a lot going on for them this year. I think they're going to be a good team. I think they can win 8-9 games. I think this is and that would be a very successful year for them with the new additions that they have to the team. So I like what I'm seeing out of the New York Jets. Absolutely. The Bills, really. Fitz Magic or Fitz, what do they call? What's his nickname? Fitz Magic.
Well, he's in Miami.
Yeah,
I mean, is it Miami?
Yeah.
Wait, who? Oh, I'm sorry, I got confused. See, how many
Talent
teams has he been with? How many teams has he been with now? Like 12.
All of them.
Yeah, so I can't even keep up with where the hell he's at anymore.
All of them. He's balled all of them.
It's seriously. Does he have the record for being with most teams? I mean, it's or at least starting quarterback.
I don't think he does, but he's probably close.
I don't mean like.
Have it.
Yeah, I don't mean like starting quarterback, like named a starter, but he's always in a position to where the starter goes down and he gets to start a few games. You know what I mean?
Right.
Probably thrown for 400 yards for more teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Bills, obviously with Josh Allen, I think that's the big question. You know what I mean? What's he going to do? You know, and I don't think any of us really know the answer to that. So I think that this is a one-horse race, and I think that the New York Jets are clearly in a position to put themselves in a good position to maybe be a viable contender by next year. And I think that that's a good position for them to be in. But like every year, the AFC East, it's a one-horse show. And I honestly don't anticipate New England getting the first seed in the AFC this year. We'll talk about that when we talk about the West. But I think New England's going to win 10, 11 games. They'll win the division. I don't see New England, huh?
The average.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to win 13.
Down year for them.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win 13 or 14 games this year. I think they're going to struggle early in the season a little bit. They'll get their feet underneath them, and once November gets there, they'll pick it up. Be kicking ass and taking names. So it'll be New England, it'll be New York, and then we'll let the Dolphins and the Bills figure out what's going on. And maybe Fitzpatrick will be playing for all 3 or 4 teams in the division before the year's up.
Well, you know what? Honestly, Miami could be a reckon with. You never know. Miami has always given New England a little bit of trouble. I mean, the Jets, they've been trying to find their way. They don't really have an identity. We don't know what they're really going to be about. But Miami's always got a strong defense, and they've always got an offense that's on the verge of having a breakout star, but never quite gets there. So,
well, isn't Fitzpatrick supposed to be the leader right now to get the starting job over Rosen right now?
Supposedly,
at the moment, yes.
And I think that's a huge mistake for Miami. Just give it to Rosen and see what you got.
Hey, you know what? If you think about it, with Fitzpatrick, the guy, you know what you're getting from him. He's going to be fearless. He's going to let that thing go. He's not going to hesitate to launch that thing down the field. We all know that. And he'll run. Now, he's kind of like and I hate to kind of compare him to him like this, but he's a little bit like Andy Dalton. Is he will give away the ball a few times. He's prone to throw a pick here and there, but the dude does not lack for confidence. And if you're in the position that franchise is in right now, you need a playoff berth. You spend all this money on all these players. You need a playoff berth, and you need a quarterback who's not going to be afraid to try and put it in the end zone when he needs to.
No, the Andy Dalton comparison. So much like I always give our Morgan brothers, trouble with the Matt Ryan is a slightly better version than Andy Dalton. I would say Fitzpatrick is a slightly worse version of Andy Dalton, but I see the comparison.
I would say that Fitzpatrick gives you a bigger upside.
Exactly.
He's going to make some plays, and now I don't think that Miami team is going to be very good, but they still do have some really good weapons at wide receiver if they can all ever get together and stay healthy. They still got Devontae Parker, Kenny Stills, and Albert Wilson had kind of a breakout year last year. So I think they're going to put Fitzpatrick in there till they go, 1-5, and then you're going to see Josh Rosen.
Damn, 1-5.
Oh.
Yeah, I really do think that's kind of what's going to happen.
2-3.
Maybe. I mean, we'll see. I do think that for them, the plan should be to go with Josh Rosen. You know what you're getting from Fitzpatrick. I think they invested, a second-round pick in Josh Rosen, which isn't a ton, but you got to see what that guy can do. You went out and got him. Give him the job. At least till he shows he's got nothing. With the Bills.
Whatever happened to grooming quarterbacks to play ball? Like, why does the first round, second round pick?
I think social media has changed that dynamic. I think the social media with the fans and the reaction and the demand. I think that's just fundamentally changed everything. I mean, you just can't. I'm not disagreeing with the premise that we should allow quarterbacks to groom and sit behind, the veteran to learn, because that's clearly the best process. But I just feel like we've moved away from that completely.
Yeah, and
people
that's why you haven't had any breakout quarterbacks.
Uche's having all kind of problems. Uche's having all kind of.
What? God damn it!
Probably said the most revolutionary thing we've ever heard in the history of sports.
Yeah, he still froze up.
Y'all froze up.
Yeah, see, you froze up on us. He's still freezing.
Jesus fucking.
We should leave this in. We should leave all this in.
Oh, they're freezing right now. Look at this. I've got computers.
This is like what happened to Aaron like a few months ago. Jeremy, I don't know if you saw that episode, but Aaron's internet feed was going out. It's like he was a drunk guy slurring his speech. Fuck you. Yeah.
We're gonna leave all that shit in. So right now you're back, Uche. Oh no,
Y'all froze again. Y'all froze again.
Do you need to reboot your router, you think?
Dude, my shit got 5 bars. All right? This is gigabit speed we on over here. Gigabit.
Well,
fuck, we're leaving all that shit in.
In any case, I think it's pretty much unanimous, gentlemen, that it's a one-horse race. It's New England, everyone else, until we see otherwise. As far as their particular record goes, I actually got higher expectations for them than it seems like anybody else. I have them going 13-3, and if they fall short of that, that to me is going to be an indicator that regression is slowly starting to creep in. Now, last year they had some issues on the road. This year, I expect Belichick to, rectify that, because he chewed their asses out in many instances last year. I have them losing on the road to Miami in September, because it's not the Patriots versus the Dolphins. It's the Patriots versus South Florida humidity. I have them losing to the Ravens on the road, just because, like we say, it's the Ravens defense. It's going to just everything that New England does with such precision and sophistication, the Ravens are going to go in and make all of that shit ugly. And I have them losing on the road in the Super Bowl rematch against Philly in November. Everything else, literally everyone else that they're facing, the Texans, the Chiefs, the poor bastard Bengals, I expect them to damn near blow all those teams out. Okay, maybe not blow out the Chiefs, but nonetheless, it's in Foxborough. I expect them to win. If they go less than 13-3, I'm going to be concerned. Not for rooting interest, but just in terms of my assessment of where they're at.
13-3?
Yep.
You be concerned?
Hey, when you're at that level, you get high expectations.
Man, we went 11-5, and we was like, hell yeah.
That's the Jags.
10+ wins for any team in the NFL is considered a good season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
That's that difference in wins that does say a lot in terms of expectations.
Yeah. So yeah, I expect them to get back on the horse and not lose last second because Gronk is a shitty safety. Moving things out to the – go ahead.
Really quick, Pat. I do agree. I think 13-3, 12-4 is pretty reasonable. But,
right.
they're always revamping, retooling. it always takes them a little while to kind of get that offense in the groove.
True.
Losing Gronk, obviously they're used to playing without Gronk. They got Ben Watson, an old Ben Watson now, playing tight end for them. I think that, we're always looking at him, we say, well, who's going to play wide receiver other than Edelman? Of course, you got Burkhead, you got James White, and you got Sony Michel at running back. All those guys can catch a ball, so they'll help there. But Cameron Meredith, I think, is an interesting pickup for them.
Right.
They just signed him after the Saints released him. He was obviously injured all last year. He showed some promise with the Bears. That could be a big down the field threat for Brady going forward. So, obviously Patriots are going to be king again. So not much more.
Do we even really care who their receivers are? Do we? We don't, because we're never going to remember who they are. By the end of the year, maybe some guy off the street. They're still going to make it to the damn AFC title game at least.
I mean, to Ryan's point, but see, Meredith coming from New Orleans is not a simple system, so he's probably going to be a little bit more in the position to grasp the concepts than, say, Ocho Cinco a handful of years ago.
That's what I was about to say. I was about to take a shot.
And Ocho Cinco was a good receiver and a smart guy scheme-wise.
Damn good.
New England shit is some other shit.
I mean, look, New England is pretty straightforward. From what I remember, they don't run jet protection, which is a traditional pass protection in the NFL, 2-3 jet. They run turn protection. So turn protection in a way works and benefit with Tom Brady because his entire line is blocking one side. And then he's either got a tight end on the very back, keeping a chip on defensive ends, or he has a running back that's coming out of the backfield and chipping on their way out into their routes. It's simple. I know as a lineman, we love turn protection. Turn protection made it so easy. It's zone protection. So you block whoever comes to you.
Right.
You keep the line solid. You keep the line closed out behind the quarterback so that the quarterback doesn't get much pressure. Turn protection is usually the most sound protection that a quarterback has, but you can only have so many receivers when you're using it because you usually have a tight end and a running back in the formation.
Right.
Let me ask you, Oche. So why do you think Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco struggled so much? I mean, he was an all-pro receiver. He was a top 3, top 5 at the time, when he came to New England, and he just sucked. It was bad. Why do you think that happened?
I think that when he was in Cincinnati, a lot of they moved him around. He played on the edges, and there would be times when he would actually play in the slot. In New England, they already had a slot threat, and their tight ends. There was a lot more people that the ball was getting distributed to, and he, his at that point in his career, he really was still just a possession receiver. He's a red zone receiver when you think about Ocho Cinco post Cincinnati, and his hands weren't as good. He dropped a lot of balls in New England as well. So
that's true.
There's a little bit to maybe some decline in his play, but in his prime, the dude could catch the ball on any third and medium, any third and short, 8-yard in an 8-yard box. You couldn't touch him.
You think it could have had? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You think it could have had anything to do with the culture shift going from Cincinnati to New England?
Yeah, they didn't want to hear anything about it. There's no such thing as a diva in New England. It's the New England way, and that probably, he's one of those guys who kind of needs that attention. He kind of needs a little bit of that juice so that he can kind of motivate himself. When he has the spotlight, it gives him that extra juice when he's out on the field, when he knows he's going to have that attention. But in New England, they completely kill that. That's not happening.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, well, it's par for the course for the big personalities to tone it down there, amongst other places. In any case, gentlemen, moving things out to my neck of the woods for the good old AFC West. Obviously, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, who were a few mistakes away from being in a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes lit up the league, scored 50 touchdowns, passed for close to 5,000 yards. Just video game numbers. You have the Denver Broncos, who are now being led by a Super Bowl winning quarterback in the form of Joe Flacco. You have the Los Angeles not San Diego,
There it
not
is.
United States, the Los Angeles Chargers, coming off of a very good season, coming up short against the Patriots, who we just spoke of. And then, of course, you have the bum-ass, hard knocks-ass Las Vegas. No, I'm just playing. You do have the Oakland Raiders, who have added some pretty solid pieces on offense. We're looking to be competitive as they make their transition into a brand new stadium out there in Nevada. Let's go ahead and start with Ryan. What are your overall thoughts on the West?
On the West, I think it's pretty clear. You've got two elite teams there. You've got the Chiefs and you got the Chargers. The Chiefs being just a little step ahead of that. Now, I do think with the Chiefs, you kind of saw towards the end of last year after they lost Kareem Hunt, it didn't look quite the same as it did with Kareem Hunt. I still think they're going to put up awesome numbers. Mahomes is just starting to come into his own. He's just going to be even better. Tyreek Hill on solid footing, knowing he's not going to be suspended by the league. Travis Kelce's a monster. They did lose a couple pieces on defense, so we'll see. But I still think they're the class of that division. The Chargers do have a chance to take it from them. Phillip Rivers, as turnover-prone as he was early in his career, he's gotten better as of late. They've gotten him some weapons. Keenan Allen is one of the best receivers in the game, bar none. The dude works like an animal.
Very underrated.
Yeah, very underrated. I saw some of the routes he was running last year in training camp. I'm hoping to go up sometime in the next couple of weeks and see him before it's over. He's an animal and a workaholic, chip on his shoulder. I love that dude. Melvin Gordon, I like Melvin Gordon, but they do have some depth at running back if he does end up holding out or if they end up trading him. They got Austin Eckler. They got Justin Jackson. They're not as dynamic, but they're serviceable. And you've got their tight end coming back from that big ACL injury, Hunter Henry. He is going to be big for them this year. Definitely top 5 fantasy tight end.
Yeah. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith. Hunter Henry is back in the lineup, Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, yeah. And then that defense, Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa coming off the edge, Derwin James roaming around the entire middle of the field. I think they're going to be fierce this year. And you got Casey Hayward playing lockdown corner.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
Those are the two top tiers in the West. The Broncos and the Raiders, I think those guys are both looking at, 6 or 7 wins. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of progression. I think Derek Carr have maybe a little bit of a bounce back year, but it's just a tough division for them to do too much in. And by the way, I was in Vegas about a week ago. There's no way that thing's going to be ready in a year, in my opinion. I just don't think it's going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see where they're at next year.
Yeah, it's very mess to figure out now. I'll give you that much. Uche, your thoughts on the West, sir?
Well, I've always been a big Phillip Rivers fan. The dude has got a cannon of an arm. I think over the past 10 or 15 years, he's the most accurate quarterback in the NFL with any throw over 25 yards. He's got he's accurate down the field.
He's definitely up there.
He's accurate down the field. I mean, he threw 32 touchdowns, I think, last year. 105.5 QB rating. I mean, other than Patrick Mahomes, he had the second highest QB rating in the entire NFL. So, the dude is, in what year, 13, 12, 13, something like that. He's, he hasn't seen much regression as a quarterback as well. He's also, he's playing more for, the love of the game now and pushing towards that, final go at a championship than he was when he was younger. When he was younger, he was just out there slinging it. But now he's actually leading the team. They trust him. They believe in him. There's never really been any doubt on whether he'd be the guy for them. They've had a high-powered offense, this entire time he's been there. They just need to get over the hump. That's what they're missing right now. For him to get him out of that Dan Marino class when his career is over with, he needs to get into a Super Bowl. He needs to get into a Super Bowl, and if they can pull it out, if they can keep pace with Kansas City, I think that they could be a favorite to come out of the AFC. I think Brady, if it comes down to it, this guy's hungry right now. He doesn't have any rings on his fingers. Brady does. I think if it comes down to it, he can get over that hump if they have to play New England in the championship.
Okay. Mr. Griggs, whatever bombs you have to throw, let's go ahead and hear it.
All right, so I think that the Chiefs are going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think they will have home field advantage, but I think the Chargers are a better team from top to bottom. I just think that the Chiefs have a higher upside because of the potential Patrick Mahomes brings. I don't know what's going to happen with Mahomes. I don't know if he's going to throw 50 touchdowns again this year. I don't know if the NFL is going to have so much game film on him that they're going to slow him down. I do think he's a great quarterback. I think he's a great talent, and I think he has incredible upside. But we've seen this a few times where hotshot young quarterback, very athletic, comes and just lights the league up, and then the next year the league catches on. I don't know. He's got Andy Reid. Andy Reid is a great offensive, coach. Andy Reid's always been good with quarterbacks. So,
and the only head coach to lose in the AFC title game or a championship game, 8 out of 8 times, 9 out of 9 times.
Yeah, he's consistently bad in the
two teams that can't get over the hump in the AFC West.
Yeah, and so I do think the Chargers potentially have the best team in the AFC and maybe in the NFL from top to bottom. Because, I mean, it's just like, Ryan said it, with Melvin Gordon. You lose Gordon, they don't have another Melvin Gordon, but they have really good depth at running back. They just have good people pretty much all over the field. And it's topped off by Phillip Rivers, who's never been considered a quote-unquote top-tier elite quarterback. He's never been put up there with Brady, with Manning, with Aaron Rodgers.
I think he has.
And he may be there in talent-wise, but he's never been considered there consistently. Every year, you've never been put up there with Brady, Breeze, and Aaron Rodgers. Like, those guys have always kind of been the 3 that are solidified as the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. Phillip Rivers always falls right there, maybe bottom tier, top 5, maybe 6, 7. And I'm just on my overall consensus. I think Phillip Rivers is fantastic, but he does tend to, he doesn't. I
think it's because he doesn't have a ring.
That's 100%. It's 100% he doesn't have a ring because he always puts up the numbers. He's one of the most competitive guys. He's a lunatic. He's crazy. He's driving around a goddamn minivan everywhere. I mean, he's a lunatic. And I love him. He's crazy.
Got to.
He's crazy. But so that San Diego Chargers team is topped off by him.
Los Angeles.
United States.
I know, right? It's like,
United
what are we
States.
call them?
It's so hard
United
to
States
say.
Chargers.
It's so hard to say.
Chargers.
So I think if you want to put smart money on this division, the smart money goes onto the Chargers, but the higher upside is with the Chiefs. I am going to pick the Chiefs to win this division and win the AFC in terms of the regular season. I think they're going to be number 1 seed. And as far as playoffs goes, who I'm going to pick for that. But as far as the bottom tier part of this division, the Raiders they're a disaster. It's like, what's going on with AB now? He's already not showing up, right? Like, what is the deal? Like, he didn't.
No, he basically has like frostbite on the soles of his feet because of the cryogenic recovery stuff he does.
There's
so
always
he just has a really bad blister on his
with
feet.
this dude. There's always something with this dude. This is why I kept telling y'all in the Sports Rules group last year, the last few years. AB might be a better player. He may be better than Julio Jones. I will take Julio Jones every day. I'm a Julio guy. Uche, I said maybe, okay? I said maybe. All right?
That is a bold statement.
Julio, I will take Julio all day, every day.
7 days of the week.
Over AB because he is a better teammate. He's going to be there. He's not a diva. He doesn't create drama, and he's got
tangibles.
He's got broke down Andy Dalton throwing to him, and he's still making miracles happen. AB has a ton of talent, but he is a drama queen to the next level. I would never have this dude on my team. So you bring him into the already crazy situation that is the Raiders, and it's just a recipe for disaster. Now, we have Joe Flacco, the most boring human being that has ever played any sport ever. I mean, this dude, who was it? I think we were on the Sports Source podcast like last week. Somebody said, I don't know if they said it about Flacco or somebody else, but it applies to Flacco. Kirk Cousins.
We were talking about Kirk Cousins.
Yes,
Flacco
so this applies. Like, I don't even know if Flacco's wife knows he's an NFL quarterback. He's just that boring. Like, she just thinks he goes and cuts the grass every Sunday or something. Like, he's just that boring. He's a boring person.
He's so slow. His body moves so slow.
Yeah.
It's like, Molasses.
It's so bad.
Side of a tree.
Yeah. So much like a lot of the divisions, you've got to kind of got top two teams are going to be battling out, and you have these bottom feeders right now. I am going to be fascinated to watch the Raiders, much in the sense that I'm going to be fascinated to watch the Browns this year, but I do think the Browns actually have a lot of potential to be good. The Raiders are just going to be a train wreck. I'm sorry, Pat. I'm sorry. I am so sorry, Pat. I know it hurts you to hear this.
What are you apologizing to me for?
That the Raiders are going to be a train wreck. I know it hurts you. I know it hurts. I know. I'm sorry.
You can't be that behind. Like I
know. I'm being respectful. Okay, I'm being respectful of my minorities on the panel. I don't want to be accused of racism or anything like that. Like
that ship has already sailed.
Acknowledging your privilege, I understand. It's struggle for all of us.
Personal point of privilege. Anyway, all right. So the bottom line is I am going to be looking forward to the Broncos being a disaster because I still have a chip on my shoulder with John Elway screwing over Tim Tebow.
Oh, my God. Get out of here.
You are paying.
Get out of here.
To Tim Tebow. John Elway.
How do you keep a quarterback who throws for 30 yards in a game?
I'm keeping the quarterback that took a team that had a 4-12 record the previous year, started out before, took them to the playoffs, won the division, took them to the playoffs, and won a playoff game.
Yeah, if Marion Barber doesn't fumble the ball because that Denver defense balled out, they never even get the chance.
Are you bringing if into it, former NFL player? Like, it's all about ifs and
football. All right. We're not going to go fully down the Tebow rabbit hole with Jeremy because we've.
I always do it. I always bring Tim.
63 yards passing in a game.
Swig of water.
4 quarters.
Tim Tebow. Swig of water. But anyway, the point is the Broncos, this is karma. It's biting you in your ass, John Elway, and you deserve it. But
he did get a Super Bowl a couple years ago, though, right?
That's fine. He sold his soul, and now he's paying for it.
Well, Jeremy, thank you for that riveting forensic analysis.
Gotta bring Tebow in somehow.
Not to get off on too serious of a side note, but I do not believe in karma in any way, shape, or form.
I do.
But John Elway, quite overrated as a GM.
As a GM.
Okay. I thought you
in my opinion.
I was going to say quarterback, not as a quarterback, but as a GM, yes.
Well, I wasn't even around for the start of his career as a quarterback. In any case, my thoughts on the West. Las Vegas will be competitive. It won't be an absolute 4-12 train wreck like last year because they have added some legitimate pieces. Tyrell Williams into that fold with a revamped O-line. Derek Carr maybe no longer having the post. Oh, God. Derek Carr no longer having the post-injury jitters. There's going to be some decent production there. Mm-hmm. For my fantasy players, for a flex spot, I would give Tyrell Williams a look. Real talk. As far as Denver goes, Denver, along with Baltimore, except to a much lesser degree, I feel like is one of those teams that no one is talking about. Yet, if it works for whatever reason, particularly with Vic Fangio, a defensive guy, with a Denver defense that, granted, roster-wise is not as talented as they were a few years ago with the no-fly zone, but you still got Von Miller. You still got solid pieces all over the roster, and they train and develop their players incredibly well. I expect both of the Raiders and the Broncos to be competitive. I don't think they're going to win a ton of games. I think 7 or 9 victories is a ceiling for really both of these teams. Yeah. But it's not going to be as easy of an out as, unfortunately, some offensive and defensive coordinators, when they see them on the schedule, are going to assume. With that being said, Kansas City is going to run away with the division again, and I'll explain why. Steve Spagnuolo, the architect behind the 18-1 Super Bowl, is getting this revamped Kansas City defense with a younger pass rush and Tyrann Mathieu now in the backfield. That KC defense was absolute utter horseshit last year. They couldn't stop anything. They couldn't cover anything. They couldn't catch a cold. They were terrible. Steve Spagnuolo is going to get them playing at the very least to a proficient level. Now, as far as KC's offense goes, a lot of the time when you look at the transitions between years with quarterbacks and offensive schemes, you got to look at the coaches and the coordinators and who does or doesn't stay. Frank Reich left Philadelphia, and that Philadelphia offense for next year didn't look the same. The brain trust in terms of coach and coordinator in KC has stayed the same. So if we're working with the same system, Mahomes is going to be even more ingratiated in it, and they're probably going to dial up some new stuff because Andy Reid, for all his pros and cons, he can play design with the absolute best of them.
Yeah.
As far as the Chargers go, I think top to bottom, the Chargers have the best roster in the league. But something kind of just always goes wrong. And with
cheated, I feel like.
And with a more competitive AFC South with Foles and Jaguar and Watson in Houston and Andrew Luck in Indianapolis, that wild card spot is going to be more competitive than it was last year. The Chargers have to be prepared to compete at a high level. And if Denver or Oakland messes around and gets a come-from-behind win on the Chargers, it's going to be bad. So, yeah, I got KC. I think they probably will get the number one seed as far as who they play in the AFC Championship. I think it's either going to be New England or Indianapolis. If it's somebody other than those two, I'm going to be shocked.
Can I throw a quick question at y'all real quick? No
Sure.
prep on this, and I want the first name that comes to mind. First name that comes to mind, rapid fire, NFL MVP this season, go.
Mahomes.
What? No. What? No.
I'm taking a risk. Andrew Luck.
Could be.
I don't like Andrew Luck. I'm rolling the dice.
MVP? Who could be poised for that right now? There's a number of players that could have that kind of.
Come on, Uche. Come on. First name. Come on.
I mean, since we're going with the offensive weapons, I'm gonna give Phillip Rivers his first MVP.
Okay. All right.
Honorable mention, Deshaun Watson.
I was just gonna say that. Look, dark horse right there. Deshaun Watson.
Player of the year.
He's beast. And again, we're not going to be held to that. I just wanted the first name that you guys thought. But yeah, for me, I'm going to put some more thought into it. I don't like Andrew Luck. I'm not a big fan of Andrew Luck. I think he's been completely overrated and overhyped. I get that there are some legitimate criticisms about why he hasn't really fully realized who he should be. But at the end of the day.
But you don't care about reasons for shit. No.
No, I do. I do care about reasons. But at some point, like how many years has this dude been in the league?
Look, now he didn't have to have his shoulder absolutely rebuilt. I think that has more to do with his fight.
Jeremy, as long as I don't have to see 3 threads a day of you bitching about Cam Newton, you and I are completely good. You can move someone else into that spot.
Tell me what Andrew Luck has accomplished to support the media fascination and love with him.
I can't tell you that because I'm not worried about the media. And
he never won a championship in college. He played out west. There was no. I mean, he checks all of the boxes for Madden. I get it.
Listen. Okay. Do you understand what it means to go from having a Peyton Manning directly into going and having a quarterback like Andrew Luck? Andrew Luck pre-injury was like getting Peyton Manning all over again. It was. He had a better arm strength. He could run. He's a little bit. He's more athletic than Peyton. And they had,
he got an absolutely god awful roster and a god awful line to an AFC championship. They got their asses handed to them, but that's what happens when you face a complete team and your team is bullshit.
Yeah, he took that team to the AFC title game, and he lost his shoulder because of it. But I still see him as a legitimate top tier level quarterback because he does have those. He has those prototypical quarterback attributes.
So we're qualifying him on the roster he took over. Okay. Yet all I ever hear is that Tom Brady went to the Patriots and Aaron Rodgers took over a bad team, which Aaron Rodgers took over a team that went to the NFC Championship the previous year, and Tom Brady took over a 4-12 team the previous year. So
Jeremy, but see, here's the thing. Everything that we said doesn't necessarily go against or negate what you're saying. All we're saying is if you have a beef with the media hype and this and that, okay, great, cool. Take that out on the media, not the player.
Hey!
Well,
I
you
just said
also
it. I
have to
just
look
called
at-
him for the MVP this year. Okay, I'm giving the
You
man
gotta
his
look at the
respect.
potential for the guy. I mean, Andrew Luck does. I mean, he went to an AFC title game early in his career. He consistently, before he was injured, consistently took the Colts into the playoffs, into at least the divisional round. I mean, the guy has the potential to be a Super Bowl quarterback. Now, part of the problem is that the ownership and the general manager have not built a team around him. They have had the most sporadic signings and trades and drafts that, I mean, their drafts are unnoteworthy, completely unnoteworthy.
Yeah, it's bad.
I will say Andrew Luck's biggest fault, and I'm no Pat. I got us off track, and I apologize.
It's
Andrew Luck's
good.
biggest fault is he will take too much of the blame. You know,
Yeah,
Takes all of it.
He takes
He
literally
is
every
your
bit of
old
it.
school quarterback
Yeah.
who just
And I think that might be his weakness, and that's not it's not a bad thing. He's not a bad guy. I don't dislike him like I dislike Aaron Rodgers. I think he's a good guy, and I think he is a good quarterback. And I think he has potential to be an MVP candidate this year. He's healthy, and it'll be interesting. But we'll save that discussion for a later time for the call.
So let me respond just real quick to why
Okay.
I think that, there was kind of this narrative about Andrew Luck ever since he came into the league. He went to Stanford, straight up guy, good looking guy, always squared away, always says the right thing, stays at Stanford when he could have come out, stays at Stanford another year to play for his college team, drafted number 1 in the NFL, to Indianapolis. And he is a very good person to be a quarterback in the Midwest, specifically in the Indiana area.
yes, yeah.
You saw the clip where he accidentally swore on camera, and it looked like he had just committed the worst sin possible. Write him down right there.
Hey.
He goes, he improved that team every year, those first 3 seasons, all the way up to the AFC Championship. And you want to run through a wall for that dude because of the way he plays the game. When he gets hit, I mean, he's slapping J.J. Watt on the head saying, "Nice hit, brother." And popping right.
He literally compliments the guy who sacks him. Like that's.
Yeah. I think I think that's why so many people in the media really like Andrew Luck, because for some people it's really hard not to like the guy. For me, it's hard not to like the guy. And I'm not a Colts guy. I'm from Indiana, but I'm a Bears fan because I'm from the Northwest.
Right.
I went to Purdue.
Oh, yeah.
I can't stand the Colts, but I do
Uche, we lost you there for a second, but you said you can't stand something.
No, I said I can't stand the Colts, coming from Purdue as a Texas boy, but I do respect the hell out of Andrew Luck. Dude is a pure football-loving, quarterback.
Well, you guys are softening me up to Andrew Luck. So, Pat could never do it, but you guys did it. So,
and I will say that Uche being from Purdue is why he was so mad about that Tim Tebow comment, because who did Tim Tebow take that job away from? His boy Kyle Orton.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, sir. Have you signed to Orton in my presence, sir?
I love Kyle Orton. Kyle Orton's the man. He got drafted by the Bears.
He was twice the quarterback that bum Tebow was.
100%. I'm a Purdue fan, Uche. That's my team.
Oh, hell yeah. Boil her up, man. And
absolutely. Hammer down.
Real quick about Kyle Orton. How does a quarterback get screwed over in Chicago to go to the Super Bowl and in freaking Denver as a starting quarterback when you're better than both the quarterbacks they put in ahead of you?
He ain't better than Tebow.
Hurt my heart.
Oh, tragic.
I'm Pat. I'm holding back for you, but we're gonna get more into
we're
a future time.
We're gonna go ahead and probably have no matter of fact. Look, we're gonna dial this up. We're going to have a separate podcast, a special edition, just between Jeremy and Uche for him to hash out all this Tebow stuff. And I'm just going to sit in the back with a beer and just be like, all right, go ahead. That's what we're going to do.
All you guys need to know, Google Uche and Tim Tebow. Go ahead.
You'll see truth.
Yes. And when we do that show, you'll hear I won't say truth, but you'll hear 2 battling perspectives. That's how we'll put it. In any case, folks, it's definitely been fun. This slow build up to the NFL season. I know sometimes it can be torturous for a lot of people, but we're looking to get the incitement rolling. Gentlemen, do we have any shout outs or things you want to get off your chest?
I want to welcome both of these guys to the channel, to the team. It's absolutely a pleasure to have both of them. And on a serious note, with all the shit talking we do, I met Ryan at San Diego meetup. I think both of you see exactly why I brought Ryan onto the team. I mean, the guy knows his stuff. He's well spoken. He's well put together. Ryan's awesome. And we had that meetup. You know, I met you, Ryan, at the first meetup. And the second meetup is when I started to all right, I'm gonna size this dude up. He knows his stuff. I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on him. And then I pulled you aside right after when I was leaving, and I said, hey, man, you know, I'd really like you on the team. You know your stuff, and you've done nothing but, prove me right 100%. You're fantastic, Ryan. So it's a pleasure to have you on the team. Uche, I'm really honored that you reached out to me to become part of Sports Wars and part of Geeks and Gamers. And it's a pleasure having you on, and I thank you for, bringing, your knowledge and, your NFL career knowledge and everything and to the team and teaching us some stuff, and I'm happy to be part of it. And Pat, you can just go fuck yourself. So, no, but it's good to have you guys on.
Hell yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah, no, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, a whole lot more is coming. Like, comment, subscribe, share. We'll catch you all later. I'm not going to say fuck Tom Brady because Roy's not here. Peace out.
Peace.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy from geeksandgamers.com, and if you're a fan of Geeks and Gamers, please go to our website, visit our merchandise store. We have t-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, tank tops, and in the very near future, we're going to have many more products for you to choose from. So thank you for the support. We appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.